Warning, the following video does not contain any laces. This message was brought to you by sr4ulaces.com. About 8 months ago, the football boot world was shocked when a brand that hasn't really been that relevant in a little while returned to market with a football boot that I think we were expecting them to make for a long time, but with a twist in that it was very much like an Adidas product. The brand is Lotto. The boot is the Solista 103 Gravity. So here they are in what I believe to be the latest colorway, which I must say is far better looking than what they launched with. I think if this was the launch color, the response in general probably would have been a lot more positive. But either way, this is Lotto's return to the Laceless football boot game, a game that they started back in 2006 with the original Zhero Gravity. And here's the thing about these, they're actually pretty good football boots, but there was one major point of criticism when this first dropped, and that is not because it's a knitted upper, not because it's a mid-cut design, not even the fact that it's a laceless boot, but because it does have some distinctive design elements that are very similar to the now discontinued Adidas Predator 19 Plus. It's by no means an exact copy, but I definitely think that you can see where some of the inspiration may have come from. With that said, this is no longer the current Predator model, with the new version I think being a lot better and obviously changed in a lot of ways, which of course begs the question, where does Lotto's answer to the laceless football boot market stand in comparison to all of the other top-end laceless boots? Well, to be honest, I actually feel like this is one of the better laceless options out there at the moment, and I'm going to explain why that is in today's video. We'll go over all the details, including how they fit and feel on feet. So if you're interested in learning more, please stick around, watch the entire review. And if you're interested in a pair of these fairly unusual football boots for yourself, they're actually deeply discounted right now, mainly due to the fact that they're not very popular, but they're also only available in Europe. Normally these would retail for 195 pounds. They are currently on sale for 95 pounds, so 100 pounds off, which converts to about 118 US dollars. So for the price of the laceless takedown models from the Adi brand, you can get a top-end Lotto laceless boot, which is as good, if not better, than most of the Adidas laceless boots at the moment, which makes this a pretty attractive option if you're just looking to try laceless football boots for the first time, but are also not looking to break the bank. Either way, if you're interested in some of these for yourself, you can click the little pop-up in the corner of the screen or the first link down below. That's going to take you to the review page on my website, where there will be buy it now links to pick these up for the price that I just talked about. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more content on everything football boots. So let's start with extras, because you do get quite a few. It does come in a Solista Gravity branded box, which I think is a very premium touch. Inside the box, they include something that I really like in the form of what is kind of like a mini poster. So you can see on the one side, it has the boot in the middle, and then kind of gives you a bunch of different images kind of showing you the history of laceless boots within the Lotto brand, which is pretty cool. And then on the opposite side, has some pictures of the boots, some information. It's just something that they used to include with top-end models going back into the early 2000s. You don't really see it that much anymore, but I think it is a nice touch. They also include a Lotto branded shoehorn, because it is a laceless football boot, for help with putting them on and I guess taking them off. They also include this right here, which is this little Lotto branded pouch. It's got a Velcro cover, and then inside you're gonna find these two orange, what look like insoles, but they're not really insoles. I'll explain what they are in just a second. And they also include a string bag, which is actually pretty decent quality. It's made of the normal string bag material, but then you can see the top, I guess, quarter of the bag is like an open mesh, has the Solista Gravity branding there on the front in silver, black strings. It gets a string bag rating of 17 out of 24.3. As for the boots themselves, I just want to quickly comment on the colorway, which I will admit I think looks really, really good. You can see that it is kind of a nice royal blue, but then within the knitted pattern, there's some lighter blue in there, there's some white mixed in, almost looks like a light gray in certain points. There's a little bit of a lighter blue accent here in the collar. Then you just have the simple Lotto logo on either side with your Lotto branding down the back as well. And then pretty much just solid blue plastic for the sole plate with translucent studs. Like I said, significantly better looking than the launch colorway. I'm not sure why they didn't launch with this. However, I like to look at the names of specific colors from different brands, because often they can be a little bit over the top in terms of how they name them. And this being blue, kind of a similar blue to what Italy wears, and Lotto being an Italian company, you'd think maybe they would call this Italy blue, but no, they've called this specific shade of blue Diva Blue. Maybe something's lost in translation here, but that just seems like a weird choice. As for the performance side of things, surprisingly, this is actually one of the better laceless boots that I've worn. And I just want to give a quick history lesson on why it makes sense for Lotto to make a laceless boot, because like I said, back in 2006, the original Zhero Gravity, you might be familiar with at least the look of that boot. That was technically the world's first laceless football boot. And then obviously it never really caught on, and it wasn't really made popular as a concept until 2016 when Adidas launched the A16 Plus Pure Control, obviously under very different circumstances with a knitted upper rather than synthetic. And if we're really getting nitpicky, technically Adidas had a laceless version of the F50 back in 2007. So again, I'm not claiming that anyone's copying anybody here, but it does make sense for Lotto to make laceless boots again since they were technically the first ones to do it. However, this is more along the lines of what we've seen from the Adidas laceless products rather than what Lotto did way back in 2006. So what you can clearly see here, because they haven't really hidden the fact that this is a knitted upper, is that you have a knitted upper with kind of a ridge texturing that runs the length of the boot. So kind of imagine what we had on the Mercurial Superfly 5 from Nike, but just running in the opposite direction, although I don't think the texturing is quite as extreme. And honestly, this upper is just a little bit thinner and feels softer. Obviously, you have a polyurethane top layer as a protective layer and also to provide some extra grip on the ball. Not to say that this is grippy, but it's obviously not left completely slick, which it would otherwise be if it was just straight up knitted material. Then you can see running through the middle, it does transition, it's all stitched together. Again, very similar construction to what we saw on the Predator 18 and 19 Plus. It is a different weave of knit, obviously a lot more dense. It's all stretchy as well, but you can see through basically, I would say 2/3 of the laceless section where laces would normally be, they've put more of that polyurethane top layer, which doesn't completely restrict the stretch, but it does limit it significantly compared to the more open spot towards the top, which you kind of need to have in order to be able to actually get the boots on and off, which was a major pain with the original Zhero Gravity models that didn't have a knitted upper. Those that have them know exactly what I'm talking about. As far as the mid-cut design is concerned, it is pretty much just a standard collar, all made from the same elasticated mesh material, but the laceless system itself functions in such a way where, just like other laceless boots, I think it's very much dependent on how well they actually fit you. I think the shape of this boot, they definitely nailed. It's lower volume overall, so it does fit quite snug. Obviously, it's very soft, and there are still going to be lockdown, I don't want to say issues, but characteristics that come with laceless football boots, and that it's not the best lockdown you can get from a boot, period. But if you like the whole laceless thing, I think they're comfortable and they feel secure enough on feet. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that they have actually added some form of reinforcement across the top of the foot. And also, they included those extra insoles in the box. Now, this is what I really like about Lotto, and I wish Adidas would do something similar with their laceless products. Lotto has recognized that with a laceless design, you lose out on customization. You can't make them looser. You certainly can't make them tighter. And when you have an initial predetermined shape, if your foot isn't exactly that shape because it's laceless, you're never gonna get the proper fit. You probably need them to fit a little bit tighter in most situations, which is why they include these extra insoles that aren't really insoles, but more so just kind of spacers. They're designed to fill in some of the extra volume. So while it's shaped like a regular insole, it's actually made from a dense foam material. So you wouldn't wear these as standalone insoles. Instead, you would actually take out the regular insole, which, as you can see, is a lot more along the lines of what you'd expect in a pair of football boots, synthetic suede liner on top, and then this softer kind of padded foam material. And then you'd take this double fit insole and you'd put it directly underneath, kind of adding extra thickness underneath your foot, which in turn eliminates a lot of the volume that you have inside of the boot, which is going to allow for a tighter overall fit. So internally, aside from the insole, you will find that the heel is lined in a really soft synthetic suede material, plenty of padding as well, and there's not really any added structure across the back, so it is very comfortable against your heel. There's minimal break-in time, and certainly kind of rubbing in this area of the foot is unlikely unless the boots just fit you horribly. And then as far as the sole plate and stud pattern is concerned, it does feature a one-piece external heel counter that is attached directly to the sole plate. This being pretty much the layout you'll find across the entire brand for Lotto's top-end models. feels really good. It does feature their Punto Flex technology, which is basically just a flex groove and nothing more. The sole plate as a whole feels nice and solid though, and has good flexibility to it. It moves nicely with the upper, which I think is important given the fact that the upper is so soft. You're looking for that natural sock-like sensation. That is definitely matched with the sole plate. And then as far as the stud pattern is concerned, it's pretty much all conical studs. You can see some of them have a little bit of a Pac-Man shape to them, but for the most part, it's a very standard kind of traditional layout, not overly aggressive by any means, but as far as FG boots go for use on natural grass, it definitely gets the job done. Which brings us to the weight, and even though this doesn't necessarily look like a speed boot, at least that's my impression, the original Zhero Gravity back in 2006 was the flagship speed boot from the brand, and it looks like they tried to maintain some of that lightweight DNA in the new model. So I'm gonna weigh them for you today in real time. Keep in mind that this pair is a size 9.5 US, and you can see that they weigh in at 7 ounces exactly, the equivalent of 199 grams, which basically ties it for the lightest laceless football boot on the market right now with the X19 Plus. Now, aside from the lack of adjustability and lockdown flaws that do come along with laceless football boots, by far the most annoying aspect of them is trying to put them on, because typically the opening is quite small. Yes, it's elasticated material, but it can be a little bit tricky. These ones don't seem to be too bad though, although I can imagine if you had really wide feet, it could be a little bit tough to do. But for the most part, as you can see, you just kind of slide them on like a pair of socks. You make sure you support the back structure so you're not bending it in. And then once they're on, that's all you have to do. On feet, I have to say that the boots feel really comfortable. The knitted upper that they have here is really soft. It's really flexible. The sole plate, like I said, matches the flexibility of the upper. So in general, they do really feel like a pair of socks. And what I will compliment these laceless boots on is that across the top of the foot, where you do have that extra kind of reinforcement material in the stretchy part, it does add a little bit of extra tension because it's just a little bit more structured rather than just having kind of openly stretchy knit, which is what a lot of these boots have. That little layer of polyurethane definitely does make a difference. Although I still will say, when I bend my foot, there still isn't anything truly forcing your heel into the back of the boot. So while it's not slipping, it doesn't feel nearly as secure as it would in pretty much any other football boot with a lacing system, which they do technically make. It is the 200 variation of the Solista. As far as fit is concerned, for those that are wondering, I'm wearing these with just the insoles. I did not feel the need to use the double fit ones underneath just because the volume seems to be pretty good. I think the shape of this boot just works really nicely with my particular foot type. In terms of width, I think that they're not super narrow. They're definitely not super wide. And again, it's a laceless boot. You kind of just have to try them on in order to know how they're going to fit your feet specifically. So as long as you don't have really wide feet, I think that these will fit most people. How well they'll fit you, that's a completely different story. And then as far as sizing is concerned, I'm wearing these in my usual size 9.5 US, and the fit and the length is perfect. So if you're looking to order some for yourself, I would strongly recommend going true to size in order to achieve the best possible fit. So in conclusion, where does Lotto's current laceless boot rank amongst the laceless products on offer from the Adidas brand? First off, I'll say that this is significantly better than any of the laceless takedown models, of which I said nobody should ever buy for anywhere near the $100 retail price. They're simply not worth it. I'll also say that while this does have some copycat elements from the Pred 18 Plus and 19 Plus, and I believe I said this in my previous review, I actually like this better than older generation laceless Predator models. As far as the current boots go, my personal favorite laceless boot, and what I believe to be the best laceless boot ever made, it has to be the Adidas Copa 20 Plus. It's just a really special product. I would follow that up with the Pred 20 Plus. I think it's a really cool boot. I think it's a very ambitious design, and ultimately it performs very well given the fact that I think it does suffer because of the laceless design. My current favorite boot on the market right now is the low-cut Predator 20.1, and that does share a lot of similarities to the Pred 20 Plus, obviously. And then in a very close third place, honestly, I could interchange this with the Pred 20 Plus, mainly based on the fact that these, I think, fit better overall and just offer better lockdown, at least on my feet. This, to me, is arguably the third best laceless boot on the market right now. Anyways, guys, that's it for this one. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to support it with a like. Again, if you're interested in a pair of these for yourself, they're on sale in Europe only for about $118 US First link down below. Go ahead and check that out. If you have any questions at all, feel free to ask them down below in the comments, and I'll do my best to get an answer out to you. If you're not subscribed to the channel already, make sure you hit that subscribe button along with the little bell notification so you get notified when the next new video goes live. You can find all my social media information linked down below in the description as well. And other than that, guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.